Give up. I said give up now. Narrated by Jesse Levine. Good evening, everyone. This is your host, Jess, and how may I say hi, guard? It's been, a guard of whole time, but, that's okay. Not every game's a stunner or a wowza. There's some things I liked, some things I didn't like, but, overall, it's like, I'd probably play LeBron James on Deadlock. That's probably what I've been doing. I mean, you have seen me been doing that. I've been LeBron Jamesing it up in Deadlock. Probably one of my favorite characters they've added. Gotta say, love the kid. I like how he punches people. He should throw the basketball, but that's just me. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. Now, here's the thing. Deadlock is still here, and, High Guard, they went by guard. They went, lie guard. They went, we're not gonna follow the roadmap we left out at all guard. And, that really kind of says a lot about live service games, where I think it's just give up. Let's just give up now. I think we should give up immediately. You know what? Let's give up right now. Give up now. Every game's not going to be a smash hit, so we might as well just stick it into a shredder, turn it into tiny pieces of plastic, and then just throw it out into the ocean for the environment's problem. And as someone who loves games, I just find that disgusting. I think there's a degree where it's just disappointing. I mean, I'm just going to be frankly honest with you. I love games and I hate to see them fail. Especially, I hate to see them not do the best that they can, improve, things of that nature. But it's just aggravating to just see a game just be like, you know what? We're done. It's over. Bye-bye. Really just at the start of the race there. And just you're not always going to hit gold. I'm going to be quite honest with you. There's only a very few amount of multiplayer games that have really hit that gold, solid player base that just stays with them at the start. I mean, it's just a difficult thing to maintain. I mean, if you've just seen a bunch of shooters that have come out, there's only a few that have really just stuck around long. And there's also even fewer that have really gotten those player numbers up there. And they're also usually free-to-play games. But sometimes it's just very difficult for a multiplayer game to really get a footing. That is just a part of the trade. And I know you're like, I need to make money now. We gotta make money now. But that doesn't always happen. And I understand that's kind of just throwing more money into the wind and being like, oh, let's just keep throwing money at it until it works. And it's like, oh, now we're like $1 billion in debt by the end of the year. And it's like, oh, wow, what if we just gave up on it at the start? But I think that's usually worst case scenario where you can't just change a game up, make it better for a player base that's been asking for things, and then boom, player numbers go up a little bit. I know you can just look at it and be like, Concord, 408 Concords ago, our forefathers said this game was going to die in 2 Concords, but it was actually 3. But I'm going to be quite honest. I definitely think Concord could have probably stuck around a lot longer if they actually just changed a couple of things and worked on some improvements. I mean, they had no one, absolutely no one for that price tag for a multiplayer shooter. No one. And they spent so much money on it and they're just like, all right, to the can it goes. Really? Really? You're just gonna give it up that fast? I don't know. Maybe I've been taking hope pills in the meantime while everyone else has been taking depressants. Because I'm just like, I can see a vision to where, it's not going to become more popular than something stupid like Valorant and you don't have a $40 per skin market, But I still think it could have found some form of niche. Maybe dropped the price down a little bit. I mean, that's just... Or it's... I mean, there's a lot of things you can say about things that could have been done, but the decision's kind of already been made. And, High Guard shutting down. It's not going to come back. It's not going to be revived. It's been given up on. Yeah, I know Jeff Keighley's like, this is the greatest game in the world, but Jeff Keighley says that for every game. Come on. Come on. I get it. I get it to a degree where it's Jeff Keighley, maybe you should have just let it just launch without a word being said about it, but there are cons to both. There are pros and cons to both ways that could have been done. They got eyes on it and name recognition out of it, and I think that's actually a really good thing, As much as, negative attention is a bad thing. At least there is attention, you know? Like, think about, like, the Whopper ad from, like, Burger King. Like, that was everywhere. But you have it in your mouth, you know? That's the thing. That's kind of the point of it, was to get it in your mouth. That's a little bit of the marketing side of that. And this is just, I'm going to be honest, this just ends on such a low note for a game that was made by ex-Apex devs. And there was a roadmap too. I just feel like this is just so... It supports, like, the idea of, like, games struggling in the games industry, and I don't like it, you know? I feel like it's very easy to talk about the doom and gloom of the industry. I actually think it's actually been doing quite well over the years. Especially, it's a thriving indie scene as well. Like, you have a game that looks like absolute poop, and it could make, like, $50 million in, like, a week. It's insane. It's crazy. Or there's, like, a team shooter that people are like, I don't want until they do want it. Or then you have something like Arc Raiders and people are like, you know, I want that. You know, it really is a good market for games. I'm gonna just say it. I think games have been doing very well. Sure, are there things that's going wrong in the industry? Yeah, like ownership. I think, well, that's just a big thing just across, like, the whole online and physical media board, where it's like, nope, we don't want anyone to own anything. That's just that kind of issue all across. Ugh, it's gross. I just think AAA has really struggled to find their footing in this, because I feel like they invest in things, and if they just don't invest well, they're like, let's do the Microsoft plan of, like, let's just gut it. Actually, no, wait, never mind. Well, that just kind of makes sense. This was the Microsoft playbook. I forgot this is the Microsoft playbook. Oh, yeah, you're right. Give up on it. And even if it succeeds, also give up on it. That's the Microsoft plan right there. And that's why Microsoft is always on top. That's why they're always the ones leading the innovation in the gaming industry. There's just a lot of words that I could just really say about it. But I think the most is just a disappointment. It's a large investment, and they're like, you know what? We didn't make money on it. Well, it's over now. And they're like, will they make the money back over the years? I don't know. Maybe I'd come back to it. You know, I didn't play High Guard at the start of it because there was only the 3v3, and I'm like, that's way too large of a map. And then once they put up 5v5, and I'm like, okay, now I'm a little bit more interested in playing this. And then played it for a little bit, and I was like, okay, you know what? I've seen kind of enough of that. But, you know, things were changing, and they were starting to add more quality of life features. You know what? Like, that opinion could easily have been turned around, you know? I just think, man, public perception of this could have been so much different if it just kept trucking on, making quality of life improvements, making things better, and just, you know, people already know what it is, so they'll probably have turned their eyes to it. You know, I don't think you're really going to see a story like No Man's Sky again for a very long time, where it had an abysmal launch, just one of the worst launches, and made improvements over time to where it's now, you know, like an actual respectable game, you know? But High Guard didn't have an awful launch. Sure, did it get review bombed? Yeah. But it didn't have a bad launch. And public opinion can change very much, you know? It's just, it is an investment. And, you know, I just really hate the call where it's like, I just give up and, you know, it's done. Maybe more maps with more zip lines, maybe even more movement stuff, just even besides horses. Maybe the horses fly and go wee. Okay, I'm just making stuff up at this point, but I think you're kind of getting what I'm saying, is that I feel like just corporate executives just see something like that, or like High Guard, Concord, and just, if it doesn't immediately succeed, Microsoft it. Immediately, Microsoft that stuff. But, you know, I think that's where you kind of see the disconnect between corporate developers and then a community. I feel like there's I feel like there's just a definite disconnect between them. What developers want, what corporate wants, and usually corporate is the one looking at the money. The money dollars, the ka-ching! And even though I've talked about it could have succeeded or succeeded eventually, unfortunately, it is a very safe move. I hate that I can agree with that. There is still that part of it where a live service game and it makes money off of people sticking around. And yet, the player numbers did drop off. That's true. They indeed did. But it unfortunately is just a safe move to save from losing more, where it's like I don't really want to prey on like Highguard's downfall really either. I feel like this is a game that was probably just very easy to prey on its downfall and just be like, oh, live service shooter, go bye-bye, AAA, bye-bye, get out of here, bye-bye, we don't like you unless we don't like you, and then we do like you, it's me, the internet, Twitter, boop, 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 boop. Oh, shooter comes out that I like that one now, you know, that one, And where I feel more of the hatred comes from is just the output of team shooters. I'm going to just be honest, like, it's been overdone, you know, kind of like zombies, you know. Overwatch really grabbed the market by the balls when it first came out. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Like, you've seen the success of Overwatch, especially now that, like, this Overwatch 2 thing never existed. And let's be honest, it's still actually done quite well. I mean, look at Marvel Rivals. Look at Valorant. I mean, this is stuff that companies pay attention to, is success of those genres. I mean, are there too many live shooter games out there? You could say yeah. I mean, that's kind of just the environment now where a lot of things are just live service, you know? Are there too many team shooters? Maybe. I just find it a lot harder to invest a lot of times into those games versus when I was younger. Deadlock has been kind of the exception there, but it's also like a bit more of a blend of MOBA and team shooter rather than just team shooter. But I don't know how much more time I'm gonna probably put into it as of late. You know, if they put out new characters, I'll check it out. But multiplayer games, it's really hard to like just keep people around for a very long time. And there's a certain group of people who will stick around for longer. But like just in general, I just think it's just difficult, you know? And I respect effort by the developers to improve things, but this is just feels like a corporate decision here, and I'm going to be honest, I was really interested in seeing what change would have come to the game. I just find it just very disappointing that this is just, let's just give up. I just find that so just disappointing and just such a, it's just bad to like just show other developers where it's just like, you know what, it's just not going to do well, give up on it. And it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth to where it's like, I feel like actions like this really justify when people are like, oh, games are just awful and poop and garbage nowadays. And it's just, it's just an ugh. It's just a massive ugh. Especially because I don't think every game has to be the greatest thing imaginable. Like, there's obviously preference and things of that nature, but I just think if a game is just like, you know, it's okay. You know, but if it start to lean towards, I've had fun with it, you know, I think that's an improvement. And if you can get more people to be like, you know, this isn't my favorite thing, or it's like I'm starting to have a bit more fun with it, or maybe I could get a couple of my friends online, you know, I think that's great. I think that's cool. And really what I find craziest is that the game had horses, and it lasted barely a fraction of a paladin's lifespan. Oh well, can't wait for Highguard 2.